Yeah, let's leave the music in there and let's just double check to make sure I didn't robot this thing in. There's still a lot of latency on this. Come on, YouTube. I'm not in normal mode. Leave the music in there. And good, I sound like a normal person. What is up, everybody? This is Jay, aka MultimediaJay, streaming on YouTube, where things are different than streaming on Twitch. And thank goodness you'll notice that the desk is empty back there because the Lenovo is gone. I have some tech videos to work on after this discussion. After this little discussion tonight, and this will be a short stream because I'm basically 3 a.m. It's like an overtime night stream, and I don't know what's going on with the weather, but winter has come back in Connecticut, so our dew point is making everything feel incredibly cold. It feels like, you know, winter has come back and it's about to start snowing, but really what's going on is the dew point is down around freezing, and it was up close to 60 degrees earlier, like close to summer, so it basically cut itself in half and stuff, or something along those lines. It just feels very cold, very dry, and that lava lamp's not doing anything. It's been running for hours, but who could tell? I mean, it was doing a few things earlier, but now it's acting like it's not getting enough heat, and it clearly hasn't been turned off and stuff along those lines. Long story short, by the way, long story short, my dad likes the new computer. He's going to hook it up, and if I missed anything, I'm going to hear about it tomorrow night. But finally, congratulations, Dad. Welcome to where I was 11 years ago. Finally getting an SSD. Finally no longer having to sit there waiting for a computer to stop grinding its hard drive for 10 minutes. And really, that was the paradox. That was the paradox of it all, wasn't it? Computers kept getting faster and faster, and that just meant the drives could grind more when you turned them on. Especially when they got older and things started getting bloated and files started getting fragmented and stuff, and disk defragmentation and management was not as robust as it is in the newer versions of Windows, especially Windows 10. But even despite Windows 10 having initially been designed to work okay on a hard drive, an SSD is still better. So it's just, you can only do so much when your hard drives on his Lenovo does 100-something megabytes per second tops transfer versus 530 tops transfer on an SSD. Just no, sorry. So and the thing is, he's pretty calm and very centered in his old age. My dad's actually read a lot of books on Zen Buddhism and stuff like that. So he spent the latter part of his career learning about how to keep himself calm when things were going completely nuts. So I think even if he was in my YouTube video, he wouldn't really have it just, his response to having a computer that doesn't sit there grinding all day when you first turned it on was rather underwhelming. Just very, very mellow, very, very, hippie boomer, so to speak. You know, hey, man, far out. You know, he doesn't talk like that, but he might as well have been. But I'm sure he'll appreciate the changes in that thing, and especially since we gave that computer a new lease on life, now we just hope that Microsoft doesn't have to retire Windows 10 at the appointed time because it becomes the new Windows XP that people don't want to get rid of. So, this is YouTube, and let me just say a public service announcement to people who come over and stream on YouTube. Welcome to YouTube. Things are different here. Stop acting like a whiny Twitch streamer. I unsubbed from a YouTuber. I went looking for streams a while back, and that's where I recognized this person from. They have a stuffy rules list in all of the descriptions on their streams, including like no self-promotion or promoting other YouTubers. I'm like, this isn't Twitch. Whoop-de-freaking-do. If somebody talks about another YouTuber in your chat as part of the casual conversation and not in a spammy way, who cares? It's like, it's not about being live all the time. It's just, this is why I say that Twitch culture is content creator poison. Because apparently even when people come over here, they bring those bad attitudes with them. Welcome to YouTube. You can do videos and you can do short form, neither of which are tied to a specific time slot. The rules that make sense when all that matters is people live streaming are different over here. So I'm curious how many people are going to be caught looking stupid when they come over here and they bring all that baggage with them. It's just, no, leave. Twitch is that way. Take it back to Twitch or leave it on Twitch. Don't bring that crap over here. You sound like a platform purist. Why not? YouTube's been around longer than Twitch. It is way bigger than Twitch, offers way more features than Twitch. It is, and the people in charge are way more professional than Twitch, as evidenced by people thinking everything's too corporate. So, welcome to YouTube. Get used to it. And welcome, do things our way. Do the when in Rome thing. Because if you stick to the Twitch stuff, you're going to look like an idiot. You know, like, oh, I'm worried about blah, blah, related live stream. Yeah, well, you know what? There's videos in short form, too. It doesn't have to be just about when you're live. This is welcome to a wonderful world where if you're not live, your content isn't dead because you're not live. Welcome. Enjoy it. As I've seen, and that's the reason why we're here tonight. Not even with any proper recap or anything except for those updates on things. I do have some tech videos to work on. One's ready to go on YouTube, so this discussion's not going to have a clickable program guide, I don't think, or very little of one, because of how simple the discussion is. We're just going to get right into it. There really isn't much for other things to talk about this time. So get this up and running, then actually put in a clickable program guide in the Windows 10 versus the eMachine round 3. See if we can get that going by sunrise. Otherwise, by prime time Sunday night, we'll definitely have that tech video making the rounds. Then we can get to work on the one about upgrading my dad's computer, which will be the next major thing I do. And then some more stuff that I have in mind, all videos, because making progression on things is fun. And one of the things I've found when I've busted out the video editor, it's kind of like when I used to be on the radio in college. I used to have this problem with my college radio show where I'd dread going there. I'd feel like it was a chore I had to get done on Saturday nights. So I really have to haul my ass out to the station and play heavy metal for 3 hours on Saturday nights. I'm like, oh man, this is going to suck. Then I get in that, then I actually get to doing it, and it's fun as all heck, and I'm thinking it's over too quickly. I'm like, what? My time slot's already almost done? What? Theoretically, I could have actually kept going if I really wanted to, because there were no time slots after midnight. So I theoretically could have just stayed on the air instead of going back to the automation. But I respected, I kind of respected the time slot and usually did that. But it's just one of those things where it seems annoying until you actually go to do it and you realize how much fun it is. It's really fun, you know, seeing a video partially done that looks better than the stuff you did 15 years ago because of the advancements in technology, even though you've had to be thrifty with the equipment you purchase. And of course, earlier today, I was looking at some tech videos from some other YouTubers. Let me tell you what the problem with tech videos is on YouTube. If you're doing stuff like what I do, if you do something like installing hardware in a computer or something like that, the search engine is not your friend. Because if somebody searches for upgrading my PC or something, they're going to get a bazillion how-tos before they find your video, if they even find your video. We know that the search engines the search results only go down so far, and then it's back to the algorithm. You just can't keep scrolling forever and ever. So you only get a little bit of space on the screen to actually find what it is you're looking for before the algorithm goes into Instagram mode and it's like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Except without the you're caught up screen at the bottom, because this is Google we're talking about. So tech videos like what I make are definitely at a disadvantage in terms of search traffic and stuff like that. I'm gonna have to dig through the analytics to really figure out just how on earth people discover those besides word of mouth or people talking about stuff on the internet. Speaking of people talking about stuff on the internet, one of the things you get as a YouTuber is some rather advanced analytics, including the ability to get a heads up when one of your videos is popping off and getting a bunch of extra views. In this case, it wasn't a video, it was a stream. It was my stream from May the 4th be with you about how a good audience is better than a big audience. The source of the traffic was Discord. So some Discord is probably making fun of the points I was making. Don't know if it's related to Cook Sucks or if it's the Happy Boy Discord or whatnot, although I'm sure I could make a mole account for Discord and just go snooping around on one of my other phones if I really wanted to. But whatever the case may be, I was talking about some other controversies and things like that. Maybe some of the people who look for negative stuff are actually finding some of this stuff. Well, if you're looking for somebody who's always looking for negative stuff to, you know, do a drama channel about, you found the wrong guy. I am bound and determined to disappoint you, because one of the reasons why we're having this conversation today is because I know full well that taking the negative route to being a YouTuber doesn't pay in the long run. And so during the whole Cook Sucks debacle, which I really don't want to extend into a second week, and it's not going to, during that whole mess, I went and I looked at this whole thing. I went and it jogged my memory on a few things. And I said I would put together a slide deck of PowerPoint slides for this whole situation, for the whole thing about negative YouTubing. Why is it such a problem? Why is it that attracting bad people causes bad things to happen? Should be common sense, right? If you attract bad people, of course bad things will happen. And I realize that the big cautionary tale on Twitch is Ice Poseidon and the whole plane incident. But that is, it's what, late 2010s or so? There are some cautionary tales that go back further than that, sometimes way further than that, sometimes before we even can start talking about PewDiePie or something like that. So, I mean, the reason why I am not a fan of negative content is because I've already experienced some of the shortcomings of it on my own channel, and I've also seen YouTubers deal with a lot worse on their channels as well. So why don't we just set everything up and let's get OBS over to PowerPoint mode and let's just fire it up. I don't care if I echo a bit on the screen here, but let's just go here. I haven't used PowerPoint mode in a long time, but here we are. It's got to be a little jerky because of the way the slides are set up. I'm not actually running the show. I've just got it rigged up for OBS. So you might see a little bit of the dark mode along the edge like this. But let's begin. So I realized I could have made the bullet points appear, but I didn't want this to be like, you know, like a business meeting or something where next slide, next bullet point or something like that, or just click, click, click. I didn't want it to be too much like a business meeting, but let's just say, you know, if you read all the slides the minute they pop up on the screen, we're going to go over all the points anyway. So feel free to kick back, relax, and maybe not even look at the screen if you listen to me like it's some kind of radio show. So I said that I would talk about my look, I'm an old guy. Been around YouTube since 2006, just under the radar. I've been privy to a lot of the big, you know, things that have happened over the years, particularly in the 2000s going into the 2010s. So stuff that your average Twitch streamer either is too young or too inexperienced to have really been privy to. And then there's the whole thing where YouTube and Twitch have gotten like a sports rivalry in the last couple of years where people are identifying with one culture or the other. Hi! Stuff along those lines. But let's just say that for the people that are on the Twitch side of things, these might be some new things for some of you folks. Bottom line is, one of the classic constant things, I talk about it, Devin Nash talks about it, I think some other folks have talked about it, is that Twitch goes through the same problems as YouTube. And if you know your YouTube history, you know what the YouTube predecessor of this was. And sometimes, you know, there's some things that jog your memory and get you thinking that, oh, look, Twitch is looking kind of like YouTube again. Here we go again with history repeating itself. So Twitch actually recently announced that they're getting rid of their friends feature because of low usage. The exact same reason why YouTube got rid of video responses as a feature in the 2010s. And now there's an entire genre of content creators who do reactions to stuff. Whoops. Anyways, let's go over some of the pitfalls of negative content creation, beginning with picking up where we left off with the whole community thing. Hey, if I highlight this, the menu doesn't pop open, right? No, it doesn't show up on the screen. Good. I'm getting like Calibri and do you want to italicize this and stuff. It's PowerPoint. What can I say? I went through and I got it to ignore all the stuff it was saying about how terrible my grammar is. According to Microsoft, I don't know how to use commas anymore. I must be getting rusty in my old age. Anyways, been a while since I was in grammar school, you know? Right, so I don't talk about my community. To recap from last time, I don't talk about this whole idea of my community like the Twitch streamers do. That word community, if you look it up in the dictionary, means something similar to audience, just people with something in common. What they have in common, the only way that everybody watching you can have something in common is if, you know, they're just watching you. So it fits the definition of your audience, who's watching. Not everybody in your audience is going to like you. The fan base is the people that like you. Both of those are something you want to grow as a content creator. All right, so let's begin with audience and fan base constitute who watches. The audience is who's watching, and the fan base is who likes you. There's a magic word in business and marketing. It's called demographics. refers to age groups, personalities, traits, types of people, any way that you can kind of put people into groups. That's what demographics are. Often used for age groups, like, for example, 18 to 34-year-olds traditionally have the most disposable income and are targeted very, very heavily at by marketers for selling stuff. It depends on the product, but overall, there's this thing for 18 to 34-year-olds, and Twitch has an emphasis, for example, in their own advertising things, for people that are 16 to 34. All right, so basically most of the audience is in that age group, so Twitch skews younger as a platform than YouTube does. Yeah, you'll actually find old people on YouTube. Hello! All right, so who's watching consists of demographics like age groups, etc., but also personalities and traits, which means that there are bad people out there who are going to cause bad things, who will make bad things happen. It is lighting up the box. Okay, we'll get double bullet points then. There are bad people out there that will cause bad things to happen and stuff along those lines when, if you attract them and they want to stick around. Not all people act in good faith or do stuff that makes any sense, like cluster B personalities, etc. Read the DSM and learn some psychology to learn about some bizarro things that people do, and including things that can be damaging and destructive to you as a content creator or the people watching. These are the people you usually want to do something about in terms of disciplinary action, especially when you learn that these people exist and that they are almost never constructive about things. So they are not good people to hang out with. So essentially, we're back to, well, obviously the demographic thing I say is who you want to attract and who you want to repulse matters. And based on who watches, your audience will eventually change to reflect you as a creator. Otherwise, it will reflect on you as a creator. Some of the negative content creators that I've watched, that I've known of over the years, and I've watched a few of them. Some of these people, their fans got so bad that their fans made them look bad. And so if their fans ever showed up on your channel, it was time to ban people because there was no chance of any constructive discussion. These people were just going to cause problems all over the place, because that's what they wanted to do, that's what they came for, etc. Then there's a similar problem on Twitch, where if a big streamer raids another streamer who's not all that related to them, all the banned people in their stream are now part of the raid, unless that's been fixed. I don't know if Twitch fixed that or not, to where if you're banned, you don't switch over with the raid. That'd be a really easy way to fix that. But I guess the big thing is people could just manually switch over. What happens is all the banned people are unbanned, and they start causing problems until the other streamer bans them too. So it's just a situation where if the audiences are too different, and the moderation is too different, you have a situation where a raid leads to a lot of toxicity while the mods play catch up on the channel that just got raided. So what this boils down to is, I know we're talking parasocial stuff here with one-way internet relationships where people will know the content creator far, far, far better than the content creator has any chance of knowing them. Social skills, however, have not gone obsolete just because online media is a thing. They don't go obsolete in other, one-to-many situations either. If you're starting trouble at a concert or you're starting trouble in a nightclub, the bouncers will kick you out. If you're starting trouble at a ball game, the ushers will usher you out. And if need be, the police will get involved to escort you off the property. So, or arrest you if you're that rambunctious about it. So this did not start on the internet. Much in the same way, and this is something I talk about with parasocial relationships too, the stuff people talk about with parasocial relationships did not begin on the internet either. Classic example is television. Television, or people having fantasies about, if I only dated this celebrity, I'd be so happy. Then you read some TMZ thing about some weird thing they do, and you're like, oh, thank goodness I don't date that celebrity. But let's not even talk about celebrities here. Let's go back to our our younger years. Some of you are still in them, of course, that are listening. But I mean, if you ever had that hot girl in your school, that you wished you were with, and you had this big fairy tale going in your head about, oh, it would be so amazing if I was with her, etc. Maybe something brought you back down to earth, like you learned something bad about her or something like that. But I mean, people have wishful thinking all the time. They just express it in some ways that are less constructive than others. You want a constructive way to to express wishful thinking, write a steamy romance novel and change the names. I'm sure there are some romance novel authors that have done precisely that. So yeah, the parasocial thing, it didn't begin with the internet, didn't even begin with the whole idea of someone being famous either. It's just the sort of thing that people do in varying amounts, some more, some less constructive than others. But yeah, social skills have not gone obsolete just because online media is a thing. At its core, growing an audience on these platforms is similar to making friends. You're introducing yourself to people and cultivating some kind of relationships with the good ones. Yeah, it's going to be parasocial and stuff, but hey, it's all about reputation, reputation, reputation. It's still people involved, and the process is still interpersonal. So obviously, your real friends are going to be more of a priority than any internet friends of any kind, simply because of the differences in how all this stuff works, if not other things as well, like giving a darn about your security and stuff like that. And people can be anything they want to be on the internet, quite frankly. That's something that we've known since the 90s, if not further. So choose your friends wisely. This is the part where we talk like someone's parents. 1990s parents, I remember this, talking about how certain people in my school were caught up in the wrong crowd, and maybe they wound up with like arrest records or something before they turned 18 or something because they had the wrong friends. Then there's me, Mr. Lone Wolf, keep the drinks handy, who believes that being a loner can be better than being in the wrong crowd. The thing is, this whole wrong crowd thing is something, yeah, we'll brainstorm some examples, as the last bullet point clearly says. The whole wrong crowd thing, man, I go back so far on that. It's not, I say 1990s parents. That's actually a way of saying, my folks said that too. And they were talking about people who got caught up in the wrong crowd too, particularly when they wound up in the police records for the newspaper for the day. Yeah, newspapers. We're going back. So, so the wrong crowd. I mean, there was this girl I liked when I was growing up. She had this problem where she had an older sister who got all the attention, and she was the invisible one. So she tended to be a little shy, and she tended to let her friends push her around too much. Her friends broke us up. We went out for a bit, and her friends broke us up. Since then, thanks to social media and everybody sharing everything, word eventually got back to me. Remember that girl you used to have the hots for? Look, she has 3 kids now. I don't know. We play some catch up, and what do you know? She got arrested for a few things. Can't work certain jobs because of crap she did because she had the wrong friends back when she was 22. Social media, man. And this is before social media went down this algorithm road where, you don't even have to go searching for anything anymore. You don't have to get that weird email from your friend like, hey, I just got on Facebook. You remember that weirdo whatever you used to have in high school? Look at them now. Or better yet, hey, remember that hot girl in high school? She never lost her baby weight. Look, she looks like one of us now. Boy, I'm feeling better since she dumped me right before the prom. Stories like that, I mean, it's just... I don't know, people can be jerks to each other. It's part of what the internet's about. People think it's always anonymous, and they always get away with it, and they never affect other people. And they're usually wrong on at least one of those things. Because people are a little behind the curve on things. What can I say? It's just, for those of you who want to be in the know, when it comes to trolling people on the internet, if the right people get involved, they can find out who's who is who. It's an arms race between people trying to hide and people trying to find those people, but it is a thing. It's been a thing for a while, too. It's the only way that our legislators can even talk about things like cyberbullying laws, where they can find, basically reverse dox the people doing harassment and just bring them in on charges. So, I mean, that's nobody's put nobody has put those 2 and 2 points together. That, if certain people can get doxxed, what about people harassing folks? Do they slip up somewhere? Do they reveal some information? It eventually leads to an arrest. It's like, seriously, folks, don't think that the law can't catch up to the internet, because the internet's been around for a generation now. So this is roughly around the time, the World Wide Web, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, going into the 2020s. The World Wide Web's been around for a generation now. It usually takes about 30 years for a new piece of technology to go mainstream. So let's just say the internet as we know it is more than overdue to go mainstream at this point. So don't think it's still 1992 out there. Anyways, so let's brainstorm some examples. Some of these people have names, some of them don't have names. The ones who I've changed the names on are worse. These are people that are just not good people overall. You should never associate with them, and I'm going to see to it that you never associate with them. I'm also not going to be answering any questions about, oh, is this that person or is it that person, when we get to those. These are people I've decided deserve zero publicity. They should never be anything on the internet ever again. Never mind YouTube. Many of these people have gone obscure, and it's just, look, they've played their hand, so to speak, in terms of being bad people. They deserve to be in the position that they're in right now. Let's get to work on this, shall we? Next slide. Sound like Dr. Fauci here. So the angry video game nerd is an outlier in this deck because he's one of the success stories. James Rolfe is one of my big inspirations for what I do, and he's a great example of a content creator who stays professional and stays focused and draws the proper boundaries. And his success with Cinemassacre speaks for itself. If you're going to do negative sounding content, you want to resemble the nerd. He made his first angry game review videos in 2004 on VHS tapes, nonetheless. Joined YouTube in 2006. Now, of course, if you read the bios or watches, talking about how he got to where he is, he tells the story. Yeah, Simon's Quest and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He inspired numerous content creators in the 2000s, built a business and evergreen back catalog of videos versus streamers and their perishable VODs. So it's one of the cool things about the AVGN is that his channel is still binge watchable. If you've never seen the AVGN before, you can watch his videos, the HD remasters, I should say, of his videos from the 2000s. And you can actually see, you can actually watch a lot of the episodes and they'll still be entertaining because videos can be made to be inherently more evergreen than streams are. This is one of the reasons why I say there's going to be a stream life crisis among some of these younger millennial streamers because they get X amount of years into streaming on Twitch and they're like, what would it have been better if I could have made YouTube videos, especially when they learn about James, who's a little older than me. Never mind being my age. He's actually a little ahead of me here. And still, now, he still has activity on his YouTube channel because his videos have held up that well. So, yeah, he built a business. His back catalog is evergreen. It's his newer stuff that might not be as relevant for as long. So if he's just talking about, oh, here's my thoughts in 2022 on movies or something. But AVGN, that's got some staying power. He openly admitted that he was playing a fictional character. That's very important. And he acts differently when he's not playing the nerd. He openly admitted that his angry reviews were a form of satire, so drawing a boundary there, especially for people on the internet who are a little too analytical and take it too seriously, and thought he was actually being serious when he raged about, like, Double Dragon 3 or something on the NES. So, one of the reasons why he's such a big inspiration for me is because he stayed focused on content creation despite drama more than many other YouTubers out there and the lion's share of Twitch streamers I've encountered in the last few years. With Twitch streamers, the tiniest little thing ticks them off. They're raging on Twitter about it. James, he's not wasting that time. He's just making stuff, taking care of his family, being a responsible adult instead of raging on Twitter and making himself look bad. Now, people will be like, oh, what about Mike Matei? Mike Matei is another story altogether. We're focusing on James right now. Of course, Mike Matei, I don't even have in the slide deck because I don't think he's totally a negative content creator. He can get negative about the right things at certain times, but he does have Twitch. He has a Twitch channel, Mike Matei Live, and I think his girlfriend has a channel too. But it's, different story. We're talking about people who tried to build their channels off of toxicity, not people who are emotional and can get mad about things. AVGN is a role model for keeping things professional on YouTube. There have been times with when AVGN had to speak out against toxic people in his fan base. So there were two issues during the Irate Gamer fiasco. First was obviously the feuds between the two fan bases. Both sides had their extremes. At the same time, before the Irate Gamers showed up, there was a group of people that would get you demonetized nowadays because they're called the AVGN Nazis. These were people that the minute you even looked the tiniest bit like the AVGN would barrel into your comments section and call you a ripoff and just, why are you ripping off James? What are you doing? Why are you ripping off James? Don't rip off the nerd. Stop ripping off the AVGN. AVGN ripoff. And James actually had to speak out against these people to correct the record, especially when there were numerous game reviewers out there who were blatantly inspired by the nerd and not afraid to say it. But, and then there was, of course, things where people were saying, oh, Angry Video Game Nerd ripped off Sean Baby and Penn and Teller, referencing pre-YouTube, like rants about, games or other stuff. In case of Penn and Teller, it was the You Know What's Bullshit series. Yeah, I'll still say it. I wonder if Cinemassacre knows that the rules on swearing in videos have been changed regarding demonetization, so he might be able to bring the original title of the videos back. I don't know. That might bring back the people saying he's ripping off Penn and Teller. I don't know. AVGN is still around today despite being much older and having a family nowadays, which is one of the things that cuts into his ability to make videos. He has a setup that lets him do them very, very quickly and stuff, and he likes doing the job, so he's kind of stuck with it. He could theoretically, if he had something else that could bring in money, he could theoretically only, take the time to make nerd episodes less often. But with the way things are for him nowadays, his kids have to grow up before he might have some more time again. And then what do you know? We might have like a real life version of that Scrooge parody that he did with the Screw Attack guys back in the 2000s. AVGN is a great example of how to do this sort of stuff right. One of my main inspirations on YouTube. Let's check this sound. AVGN is a great good. It still sounds okay. Of course, I had to pick the darn sample right after I drank with this darn thing. AVGN is also one of my main inspirations on YouTube, despite me not wanting to make angry game reviews, and because the good example of this stuff, basically. Yeah, so when I first started making gaming videos in the 2000s, I was inspired more by Mark from Classic Game Room. I don't think Mark actually tried to have a negative audience, but he wound up with a negative audience because people got stuffy with him about Classic Game Room. He has since retired from making any YouTube videos at all, and he focuses on things like comic books and publishing. So he actually has a formal statement that he is done making YouTube videos permanently. But of course, we know that there are YouTubers that say they retired and they come back, so we'll have to see on that one. But I was at the time with the AVGN Irate Gamer fiasco and the nonsense going on in the 2000s, I was inspired by Mark from Classic Game Room to keep it professional and not even be angry. Because when everybody out there is trying to be an AVGN, clone, you want to do something different. Have some originality to what it is that you do. I think there are still some people where, I think that somewhere along the line there were some folks that still thought I was ripping off the nerd, but that was a really long time ago. I don't even think those videos are still up. Next up, Armake21. Mentioned him last time. Inspired by the AVGN, but his anger was a lot more believable. He got enough views as a game reviewer inspired by the nerd for one of AVGN's friends, I think it was Mike Matei, to admit that they watched some Armake videos when they were poking around on YouTube. He was one of many angry YouTubers that I've known over the years. Not gonna monkey branch here. Sorry, not gonna monkey branch here and pretend I actually knew him. No, I used to watch his stuff a lot, so I was a viewer. One of many angry YouTubers I've known of over the years who was called out for their anger and then backpedaled, saying they were just playing a character. This happened with vloggers too. Such a huge thing. There's a huge thing where, someone would get a little too angry in a vlog and then they'd backpedal and say, oh, I'm just playing a character. Yeah. Like there's a character called blah, blah, 2424567, right? Because you would use a number name on YouTube in the 2000s if you couldn't think up something that nobody had thought up before. Not going to brag too much on the MultimediaJay thing. But anyways, more aggression led to more toxicity, particularly on his original channel's community discussion section, the ancestor of today's community tabs, which I remember being appalled by how much pestering was going on over there. People were so antagonistic towards Armake. I think there was an issue where he crowdfunded building a gaming PC, and then, didn't make very many videos, so people were like, we just bought him a gaming PC with our own money and he's not making videos, something like that. I don't know what it was, But when the original RMake 21 channel shut down, the community, the ancestor of today's community tabs, was a total dumpster fire. Just toxicity everywhere, toxicity in the comments, and then suddenly just bam, the channel's gone. He shut down his original channel, came back as Nicotine Alien, eventually shut that channel down as well. Then he brought back RMake for a grand total of one video for Aliens Colonial Marines, with how bad that game was. Then the character went back into retirement shortly afterwards. People were furious, too. They were like, RMake, you don't say you're making a comeback and make a grand total of one video. So, again, toxicity breeds more toxicity. You know, you have an angry, negative character, not as refined as the AVGN, and you end up with an audience that starts demanding things of you and getting toxic with you right back. Like, you know, and he deals with some personal issues too as well, outside of all this video stuff that even interferes with his ability to play video games, never mind make videos. He talks about it elsewhere. I'll leave you to dig for that if you really want to go digging around his other social medias to learn about that stuff. But yeah, RMake, people being overly demanding of RMake is just, or Marco as I should say, is just ridiculous. Anyways, I think he's older than me too. So I checked out his Q&A from when everyone was locked down during the pandemic in 2020. He now hates the RMake 21 character and the character's past success. He mentioned it in his Q&A on YouTube. He does have a new channel today and even does a little bit and did a little streaming on Twitch many years ago, but he's dropped the extreme emotional nonsense and only makes content when he finds inspiration these days. I wonder if he can live stream on YouTube. He could probably just do that and not have to bother with Twitch anymore, but his Twitch has been empty for years. So went and checked it out. It's been following him the whole time. Not one stream. And of course, if he just wants to focus on what he's doing now and not get too caught up in that, especially when he doesn't like, you know, the whole thing where, hey, we should do RMake again. That's totally his choice. So in the case of RMake, you have somebody who's one of those classic people following in the footsteps of the nerd, but not getting everything, not being as professional about it. So he attracted toxic people. They fouled up his channel. He shut it down, made another one. They fouled it up again, and he shut it down. Then he did a RMake comeback, and then they went nuts in the comments too. So it's a miracle he even still has a channel, because he's the kind of person that shuts channels down when he's had enough of the nonsense that people are bringing to him. He also has got angry at the irate gamer like many other people back in the 2000s. So it's just, and by the way, anger at the irate gamer is going to be irregular with a lot of these folks, because this is where this is what gaming was like on YouTube in the 2000s. So many people inspired by the nerd, an irate gamer shows up and they all get mad about it. So there's a whole bunch of stuff from that era that involves these kinds of things. But yeah, I mean, if he makes another video, I'll probably watch it, but those videos are few and far between, because he only actually makes videos when these days when he actually feels like he has enough stuff to make something good. And even then, it's just commentary. He doesn't want to bring back a super theatrical, dramatic character. Although I do have some of his RMake videos from the RMake Archive, third-party archive channel, in my classic YouTube playlist. His Gilligan's Island review in particular was incredibly hilarious back in the day. Urinating Tree. Another success story, because we got a whole bunch of stuff we got to fix too. So please stop making fun of my grammar. This is just for a stream. Shut up, Microsoft. Thalassery instead of half-assery. Urinating Tree. Today he's a sports commentator, but it wasn't always this way. And bits and pieces of his old haunt, so to speak, are still on his channel if you go back to his earliest uploads on his current channel right now. He's had multiple channels. He shut them down. And he shut them down during the irate gamer era. So Urinating Tree was inspired by the AVGN, but he had a much wilder sense of humor. And he just basically went crazy in his videos. This guy was trying really, really hard to fit into this scene and try and one-up the nerd and be angrier and wilder and more bombastic. And a lot of people were actually upset about that, because Yeah, they like, oh, I don't want my ears to take a beating from your videos because you're screaming into your microphone. Oh, if some of these 2000s people in the YouTube comments section could have only seen certain people on Twitch nowadays. Got so wild and crazy with angry reviews and shouting into a microphone in the days before PewDiePie and XQC that he practically became a caricature of the AVGN and the entire AVGN-inspired angry reviewer scene. Whatever the angry reviewers inspired by the nerd were doing, Urinating Tree did it a lot more and a lot harder. He abruptly stopped making videos in the late 2000s with little explanation for the audience and fans, and he was barely seen on YouTube or anywhere on the internet for many years as he grappled with numerous personal issues. Now, you might be able to dig and find that nowadays, but where he talks about that, but I'm not doing that homework for you. I'm here to say that he's a turnaround story because he abandoned some of the negativity and some of the toxicity that was showing up in his comments. Of course, he had fans, but let's just say everything was more extreme with the fat man judgeth. Everything was more extreme with the fat man judgeth, which I forgot to put in this slide for whatever reason. Everything, we'll just put it down at the bottom. Let's just put it down at the bottom here. The fat man judgeth. There. Now we have a bullet point of that. So, and we should probably put it now. Actually, we should probably move this bullet point up top. We can technically do that, right? Yeah. Oops. Yeah, leave it to me to screw this all up. Get rid of that, and let's put this here. All right, now this slide actually makes some sense. Fat Man Judgeth, inspired by AVGN, became a caricature practically, abruptly stopped making videos in the 2000s, had numerous personal problems for most of the 2010s. Then he made a comeback, get this, by abandoning his former content and doing something far more constructive, sports commentaries. He now does smart-ass sports commentaries to the tune of 500,000 YouTube subs and 6-digit views per video. This guy, other than the AVGN, is the biggest success story in the entire slide deck. And he had to abandon the negative side of what he did in order to get it. He keeps all his creativity and his wild on-the-fly references. He's good for making, like, similes of sorts. He's very good at thinking up random references, like somebody did something like so-and-so in some movie or whatever. But he trades the half-assery that he used to joke about for smart-assery. When he lampoons the state of the NFL or Major League Baseball or the NBA or something along those lines. He even has sponsors nowadays. So this guy has it going on, so to speak. He's got all his ducks in a row, and he's doing incredibly well as a YouTuber, and he's finally realizing the success. He's finally realizing the success that he should have had many, many years ago by being more constructive. Not so much negative as a sarcastic smartass, and it works. The Onion should hire him for something. Now, we're talking about the difference between being incendiary and being a smartass. With the Cook Sucks crap that happened earlier, this is something Cook needs to very seriously think about. Could he add a little more tact to what he does as a Twitch streamer by being a smartass and throwing a little humor into what he does? Because there's some people out there that, like myself, that respect some good old-fashioned ballbuster humor. And, it's, things that get even, folks that are trolling to say touche. And lastly, Irate Gamer, one of the centerpiece of many, many, many of the drama that affected many content creators making gaming content inspired by the AVGN in the 2000s. So where do we even begin with this guy? I'll just say that, the hatchet is buried as far as I'm concerned. I might actually watch his videos nowadays. It's just I don't have time to really spend a lot of time poking around random channels that I used to not be big fans of for many, many years. Biggest issue I ever had with the Irate Gamer was his DMCA controversy with Y2B Productions. And people criticizing the Irate Gamer finding they got DMCA takedowns on their videos. So, never knew if that was Chris Boers himself, or if it was somebody pretending to be Chris Boers because he was attracting an incredibly toxic audience. So Irate Gamer, inspired by the AVGN and caused an uproar in the late 2000s on YouTube. Many toxic people on YouTube went after anyone who resembled the AVGN. We talked about these people earlier. They were the AVGN Nazis, as it was called. Yeah, not a good term, but it was basically this, etc. Are you aware of that guy? I'm not talking about that guy. He's going to self-destruct. So keep his name out of my chat. Keep his name out of my chat. Then after IG showed up, toxic people gravitated to his controversies. Yeah, that guy you mentioned, John, that guy you mentioned is somebody who it's not going to go well for him. There's always these people. Yeah. I might just put that in. Because the way the algorithms work is they pull metadata from everywhere. So that guy, I'm going to put him in. I'm going to persona non grata that guy and put his. I'm actually going to put his name in my banned terms thing after the stream tonight, because I don't want to publicize the guy, because we've seen these infamous YouTubers who abuse the DMCA system over the years. There's always something. You don't piss off. Yeah, you don't piss off. Look, you don't piss off waves and waves of content creators on here without it having repercussions. People don't just sit on their ass like that. So, I mean, in a sense, the golden rule is in play here. Do unto others as you'd have them do to you. And so, well, stop talking about him, because this guy, well, I'll tell you this, John, stop talking about him. Make like he doesn't exist and get him out of, because remember how this works. No, when comments start mentioning him and other things, metadata picks up all kinds of stuff. So that's why I deleted that chat message. Metadata picks up all kinds of stuff. Anything you say at all about him on here is publicity. And as we've seen with the way he's been treating people, he's going to absolutely just take advantage of that. When you run into somebody where there is literally no such thing as bad publicity, you have to let them stew in their own pot, because it will not end well. So, yeah, keep that guy's name out of my chat. This is going to blow over at some point, just like the last person a couple of years ago who now feverishly searches Twitter and blocks you on sight if you even mention them. This is YouTube. The other thing too is this guy's kind of an in-progress example of what I'm talking about here, because if you go out of your way to be incendiary and make people mad as a way of growing a channel, staying big, and or building a toxic fan base, that has consequences eventually. So he might be the in progress example of this. But for now, let's look at the historical hammered out example of this with the Irate Gamer. And he wasn't as bad either. The Irate Gamer, other than the DMCA controversy, what was the issue with him? Other than he was like store brand AVGN. I still have my video talking about the Irate Gamer where I was the voice of reason. And I wasn't going to get as mad about the Irate Gamer situation as many, many, many other people who were jumping all over talking about him as a way to get views on YouTube. Well, thanks for the bonus anyways. Remind me to update my community settings later, because I am blacklisting his name because in this chat. He will get no metadata bumps from me or anybody that watches me over here. Let him try and get that elsewhere. So might be fishing for it too with what I've heard about him, what I've heard him doing. Then after IG showed up, IG meaning Irate Gamer rather than Instagram, toxic people gravitated to his controversies. He was starting stuff, and I never could figure out if it was if it was Chris that was the problem, or if it was the people that watched Chris that were the problem. Irate Gamer had two problems: aloofness and a DMCA controversy with Y2B, of which the DMCA controversy with Y2B was the only issue that I had a problem with. So, if you abuse federal law, I have a problem with you. It's that simple. The aloofness, on the other hand, speaks to Chris always seemed to not really understand how he was coming across to others. I don't think he really understood just how tacky his jokes were compared to other reviewers on the platform at the time. And I don't think he realized the effects he was having while he was doing what he was doing. So he just seemed kind of goofy, actually. So there were people on YouTube that were saying that the irate gamer was like this cartoon villain who was gonna take down the AVGN and steal his thunder and blah, 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 blah. There were these kinds of people that, there were these kinds of people that thought irate gamer was like, I don't know, the Death Star for angry game reviews on YouTube. I never believed that crap. No, we just read our next point. With many toxic people on YouTube felt IG would dethrone the AVGN, but I was one of the few rational people who saw his store brand AVGN humor as a knockoff and knew he'd never do that. In the long run, James was more successful. It has shown up in the numbers, and everything has panned out exactly as I thought it would. I was right. Much in the same way that Great Value Cola or some other store brand doesn't put Pepsi out of business, or Coca-Cola or something like that. So it's just the way it works. Just the way it works. People recognize a knockoff and they appreciate the original unless there's some other compelling reason, like it's cheaper. It got to the point eventually where irate gamer fans ruined folks' comment sections. When the irate gamer fanboys showed up, your ability to have any constructive conversations in your comments was over. It would become an absolute cesspool, cistern, whatever sewer reference you want to use, because it would be absolutely full of crap. The years passed, and irate gamer eked out some success as the controversies waned, and even collabed with the AVGN in 2020, but he never topped James. He never had the subscribers. His business never got as big as James. Y2B or whatever it was never got as big as Cinemassacre. Freeze Cracker never got like Screw Attack in the days when they were all joining orgs. So, no. The irate gamer thing, the nightmare conspiracy theory situation of irate gamer dethroning angry video game nerd never happened to this day. And as far as I'm concerned, the controversy, the hatchet is buried. They collabed, game over, move on. But what about the people that lost their channels in the 2000s? There have been people since the 2000s that have made new channels, and we know that the enforcement of the circumvention rule is sketchy at best. There are people that have gone from being banned on YouTube to partnered with six-figure income from their videos in the glory days of the YouTube partner program, when full-time YouTubers were really raking it in before everything started going into the skids. So it's just experience. There's people that do lose their accounts for that, but it's not something that has been a regular thing if certain people have played their cards right. There are even content creators who were banned on here during the irate gamer controversies. They started a new channel in the 2010s, and they continued until they actually passed away. But that's another discussion altogether. Even to this day, though, with irate gamer, some of his haters still hate him like it's still 2007. And they even admit it in their own videos if they still make them. Let's see. I went and checked his, he's called like the CV network or something, and now is Chris Neo, the irate gamer or something. He last made a video nearly a year ago and doesn't regularly post anymore. That became a thing a long time ago. I don't know if it was the algorithms or something, but or he just moved on to other projects, but his channel's still around, but everything panned out the way I thought it would. The reason why we're talking about the irate gamer, he wasn't really a negative content creator. He was just, somewhat. He acted it. But he attracted negativity because of his various controversies. Part of that is he's part of the reason why some of the other people that we're not going to mention the names of in this slide deck are where they are. As in, dashed against the rocks as YouTubers, barely getting any views, or completely gone from the platform. And in one case, they might not even still be alive. They might have had a complete and total breakdown, and nobody's heard from them since. Let's move on to some of the uglier slides in the deck. These are the people that I am not interested in publicizing. They don't deserve it. First, no. We have one more. Review Tech USA. Review Tech USA is kind of the transition in terms of this. He still does commentaries. He has a proper studio set up nowadays, but my history with him goes back to about the 2010s or so. I think it was, when he first started getting into videos during the Great Recession. Review Tech USA is who I'm referring to when I say that a lot of your full-time YouTubers got their start in the Great Recession when real jobs weren't paying anything, or they were hard to get, or they're unstable as hell. So the idea of making money on YouTube was made to look good, better than it normally would be, simply because regular jobs sucked. In today's world of the Great Resignation, that is not the case. In today's world of the Great Resignation, that is absolutely not the case. Review Tech USA, I used to watch his commentaries on video games in the gaming industry, and I even parodied him a few times in the 2010s, but I stopped watching after he shifted to more FUD and emotionalism. When did that happen? After I watched his content decline into FUD and emotionalism after he became a full-time content creator in 2013. He's the cautionary tale for why you shouldn't be a full-time content creator. I recently added one of his pre-2013 videos to my classic YouTube playlist. I think he was talking about like being unemployed or something in 2011 or something like that. But the Review Tech USA used to have his own format that was something where if you saw a video like what he did, you knew it was Review Tech USA. He even inspired some other people like Icy Rhythms once upon a time with a specific format with game footage, commentary, and a few other memes that he was doing back in those days. But when he went full-time, now you bring money into the equation. Now you bring in the need to pay your bills with your content. That inevitably affects how you do things. And in his case, it took him in a direction that led to me not really being interested in watching him anymore years ago. Checked in on his channel to see how he's doing nowadays, but that's another story altogether. The negative content attracted a negative audience, and he tried becoming a Twitch streamer back in the 2010s when Twitch streaming was loaded with technical problems like DDoSing and swatting, and streaming was becoming known nationwide in national news for swatting incidents. Ice Poseidon's plane incident was one of many. He kept getting DDoSed and made a nasty video about leaving Twitch in 2015, and you can still go dig for it and watch it. Hey, Twitch, if you don't get your stuff together, this is going to destroy your platform in a couple of years. Well, he also got swatted a couple of times, too. Matter of fact, after he stopped streaming on Twitch, when YouTube started rolling out live streaming and he started streaming on YouTube, I went to watch one of his streams because I've watched a lot of his commentaries before, and I was like, oh, let's see what his game streams are like. He starts the stream, barely even gets going. Oh, we're getting swatted. Hey, look, there's the police. They know me on a full-time basis, our first-name basis. They've done this, has happened so many times. And I was like, yeah, that's not a bad thing. You attracted a bunch of crappy people with the way you do stuff. You got to do something about that. Reform. Be more constructive. Be less of an emotional crybaby. Be more professional. Bore these people if you have to get them to move on to a juicier target. You pass yourself off as a news guy in a studio, act like a news guy in a studio, get professional instead of the stuff he does. But he didn't do it. And so he still has the same crap going on today. I don't know if he's still having swatting or DDoS issues with his streams, but if you attract a negative audience, you got to make the decision that a good audience is better than a big audience and move in a different direction. That's the stuff I was talking about in that May the 4th stream that gained a bunch of extra views from whatever that Discord was. Anyways, he's still around today. He has a proper studio for his commentary videos and a good-looking one at that. But the FUD, the emotionalism, and content creator baggage stayed, and the usual content creator baggage rules are in play with this guy. Why should I watch? It's not that I can't watch a Review Tech USA video, or I don't want to watch too many of his videos. It's that there's no point in me watching Review Tech USA talk about something when there are better commentators out there that keep it more professional. He just gets bumped down the list, and most of the other people I might want to watch they usually have something for me to watch about the same issues. So when people who think things through like myself start leaving your audience, who are you left with? That's the thing. Again, demographics. You drive out the good people, all you're going to have left is the bad people, and then don't cry about, why'd my community get so toxic, like the Twitch streamers do. His views haven't budged, and I don't mean his political views. He still gets similar views on videos today, like what he did in the 2010s when he first went full-time. Now, I used to say, oh, Review Tech USA is going to get like 25 to 75,000 views a video. His subscribers have gone up over the years, but he still gets this pretty much the same views on his videos now that he did a decade ago. So, I mean, what is his audience growing up and getting out of there, and a new immature people come in that listen to his various antics, even as he gets older and older and is very squarely into middle age now? It's like, no. So I don't watch this guy. So, and I mean, if you enjoy Review Tech USA videos, have at it, Hoss. But I haven't watched this stuff regularly in years, and I have his channel blacklisted because I just don't want to see any more of his commentaries, because many other people out there do commentary on certain issues better than him as far as I'm concerned. I don't want someone who's, overly emotional. I want people that can keep it professional and keep it respectful. So yeah, what did he get? He went full-time, yeah, celebrated it, better than a corporate job, and went into a decade of stagnant growth, attracting a negative audience and years of problems. Was it really worth it to go full-time? He's my go-to example for how full-time content creators essentially nerf themselves when they need to pay the bills with their hobby. Part-time content creators represent. I didn't think I would do this, but I'm actually going to stop the slide deck here because this is where all the named examples end. We're going to take a break, refill the drinks, and get ready to wander into the swamp of the ones who I am deliberately not saying the names of. We'll be right back.
I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I push my mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I need to scream out loud, I can't stop me. I wanna be the greatest like Rocky. You know I leave them all hating like a hobby. I'm out here making moves like a lobby. And if you ain't with me, it's your loss, see. I got my mind on the facts, I'm a python, grab what I like real fast. Choke until I have everything I attack, everything that I lack, everything that I want, and I see, matter of fact.
I'm my own worst enemy. Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed, and everything I do the best. And deep within my mind, you know I'll always manifest it.
Whoops! One of these days I'll get those song flips right. You know, I wish it would be like Winamp or something. Actually, no, I don't wish it would be like Winamp with those music player type things and stuff along those lines. But hey, during the break, I made sure to blacklist the names, 2 spellings of the names of that guy that's causing all the problems on YouTube right now. He is not welcome here. His fans aren't welcome here. And any discussion at all about him is not welcome here. People like this, look, they're getting attention by any means necessary. These are the people that double down as much as possible on the idea that there is no such thing as bad publicity. Fundamentally, they are bad for people. They are bad for the platform. And they need essentially to be denied their ability to remain infamous in order for people to shut them down. There's a couple there. It seems like YouTube has one infamous person that gets like this every couple of years. So considering what happened the last time we had someone like this who was worth persona non grata-ing as far as content creators are concerned, that we already know how the story ends. These people fade into irrelevance when they can't get what they want. It's a matter of people smartening up to make sure that that happens. So, terms blacklisted. And comments in chat that mention him will be flagged and they will never see the light of day, because that dumbass doesn't deserve any metadata feeding on my channel anywhere. He has plenty of channels to get it from right now, but that's just somebody taking advantage of people on YouTube that don't know how the algorithm works. Like, the algorithm is very heavily text-based. Stuff in text and titles and descriptions are a big part of it these days, to the point where even the tag system is pretty much deprecated at this point. I'm thinking even the categories are too. So if you can generate text-based buzz, we can start talking about stuff like, for example, comments and chat affecting this too. Who knows? But I do know that a lot of the metadata type stuff that's being read these days is out of plain text. So the way to shut this guy down is to just move on and let him stew in his own pot. Whatever's going to happen to him is going to happen to him, but just keep yourself out of it, because none of these people never stick around for very long when they're this extreme about it. Speaking of people who don't deserve publicity, let's balance everything out with the final examples in the slide deck of the people, of the negative content creators who are cautionary tales as to why you shouldn't go down the dark path when it comes to YouTube content. Yeah, maybe you can get some numbers faster than people making constructive stuff. But I can tell you that YouTube has been getting more and more antagonistic systemically towards this stuff. And that's a common pattern you're going to find with the remaining people in the slides, is that they can still get views today from whatever is left of their audience, but the algorithm is not their friend, and good reason too. YouTube really needed some kind of, even if it's a pretext, reason to stop letting these people make progress on the platform, whether it's ad friendliness or something else. It's why I'm not totally opposed to the demonetization system, especially as it has been refined over the last 5 years. Maybe 2017, 2018, it might have been more of a problem, but today, 2022, very different story. Drinks are refilled. Keep them cold. Let's get back to what we're talking about here with PowerPoint mode. Beginning with the for-profit troll. We mentioned him before. This guy is an incendiary YouTuber circa the 2000s. He's been on the platform about as long as I have. Somehow. With one channel. Somehow. Strange, because I think he had a few alts as well. But as we go further down this rabbit hole, we run into people losing channels left and right because of DMCA or community guidelines or something along those lines. So, the for-profit troll, one of my classic examples of what not to do as a YouTuber, because it's not good for him now. He might have had some quick, easy fame, and he got into the YouTube Partner Program pretty early on, but he's an incendiary YouTuber circa the 2000s, and he grew an audience by making people mad, just like the shock jocks on the radio, and then goading them if they got upset about it. So he went out of his way to tick people off, succeeded, and then did some more when people reacted to him. Just incendiary antagonism. And that antagonism gave him the numbers to get into the partner program early YouTube partner, and he got even more toxic when he could rub it in that his haters were lining his pockets. Yeah. Like, makes an incendiary rant video. People get mad in the comments. Thanks for watching the video and paying my salary. You know, for-profit trolling at its purest. This is one of the big reasons why I've refused to associate with this dumbass. He decided not, and what has YouTube done since then? YouTube has moved in the direction of trying to discourage this kind of stuff through the demonetization system, refinements to the policies. People like this are the reason why we have the stuffy crap we have today that we have to deal with in the Wojcicki era. So, people like this are the reason why adpocalypses happen. It's like, because then, you know, these edgelords out there, the advertisers find out that their ads for milquetoast products are on some edgelord's rant about some hardcore political issue or something that made them mad, and they want to make other people mad too because misery loves company. Hey, what do you know? Why is YouTube in the state that it's in today? I wonder. Lovely. So I decided to not give him any publicity because these kinds of people should not be allowed to make any progress on stuff like this or in life in general. I mean, if you're going around making people mad everywhere you go, how on earth are you going to work in a job anywhere that requires any amount of teamwork? You could in some rather dark ways by trying to motivate people by angering them, but why would you want to do that? Continued to poke the hornet's nest over the years and started drama with other YouTubers in that scene as well. There was a scene forming essentially of various YouTubers that would do like drama videos in the days before the drama tubers. There were the edgier edgelord YouTubers who bent the rules without breaking them, risked strikes all over the place. Sometimes they just made multiple channels because they kept getting banned. But there was a scene on YouTube at the time in the 2000s going into the 2010s of people who were more antagonistic like this. Because YouTube changed, though, he actually tried to get a little more constructive, but he returned to trying to get people to work up. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, and his views reflected his attempts to mellow out a little. That didn't last more than a few years anyways. Now he just rants about everything. And I did mention last time the years have not been kind to him, and he now looks like your crazy uncle who spouts conspiracy crap at the Thanksgiving dinner table. He does phone vlogs. His videos are very, very 2006. So he spent the last 15 years or so, age-wise and appearance-wise, catching up to how dated his YouTube vlog format is. He yammers into his phone for whoever will still actually watch him, vlogs like it's still 2006, and acts like he's still whatever age he was in 2006, if that. His videos are as old and dated as how he looks these days. He's basically caught up to the effort he puts into his videos and how dated the format is in terms of, you know, age happens. So it's just, the years are harder on some people than others, and they've been pretty hard on this guy. But he's still at it. He's still at it, and he still has an audience, whatever's left of it. But what you run into with this guy is that he just doesn't have any real numbers to what he does. And I don't know if there are things like P-score and other stuff that YouTube ran earlier in terms of classifying channels that have gotten in the way with this kind of stuff. But I don't even know if he even wants to be big anymore. I think he just wants a place to speak his mind and just rant about stuff. But this guy is a great example in the 2020s on 2020's YouTube of how the algorithm is not your friend if you're like this. So could have been a more constructive commentator, could have been a voice of reason like myself, so to speak, who thinks things through, tries to come up with a level-headed take on things, but he decided to antagonize. And he decided to, when he got into the partner program, make money off of antagonizing people and rubbing it in that he was making money off antagonizing people. Rinse, lather, repeat. And now here he is today. The next one, the meltdown guy. Mentioned him earlier. He's completely off of the internet. Don't even know if he's still alive. Totally had a mental breakdown, and everything stopped with everything. If you Google search his channel name, which he was using for his video game playing, you'll find that his Xbox and PlayStation accounts last show activity around the time the meltdown happened. This guy might not even still be with us. He's a wonderful cautionary tale of how going down the dark path of negative content creation will consume you. Now, it's a sort of, it is like the dark side of the Force all over again. This guy grew his channels, plural, via hating the irate gamer. His first one got DMCA'd to death. The second one he closed himself when he had the meltdown. He used to actually like my videos and regularly comment on them. We even did video responses to each other at one point. However, when he closed everything down, that blew away all his comments. So they're all gone now. As I became more constructive in the 2010s, he stayed negative, and that eventually drove up a wedge between us. He eventually left my channel after blowing up in my comments section about something one last time. Like, I mean, total full-on, like, if it wasn't the internet, he'd be yelling at me. So, hated what I said that much, and I was like, enough. And as he got more and more negative, misery loves company. He found, again, how good are your friends? He got in with the wrong crowd. He wound up in a bad crowd of YouTubers who grew their channels off of drama in addition to having a negative audience. There's just, like I said, there was this group of pseudo drama tubers in the 2000s before we had the more structured drama videos of today. And these ranters and whatnot basically eventually became friends with each other and did collabs. But when you have friends that are all about being negative on YouTube, it has consequences. His friends eventually turned on him. Between that stress and some substance abuse in the mix, he eventually shut down his channel. His former friends egged on him still further as he did so. So, it's a total narcissistic discard. There are people out there that use others up and throw them away, and he totally got used up and thrown away. And like I said before, his haters had the last word. His hateful former friends had the last word. Their hate video about him is now the -- search result. If you remember his old username and you search YouTube, the hate video is the #1 search result, which is a huge thing in this day and age where the YouTube search results are so algorithmic. It's crazy. To have this be consistent for this long just shows the victory that his former friends had over him after essentially running him off of the internet. He completely vanished off of the internet years ago, might not even still be alive, aka still around. He's my ultimate example of how attracting the wrong crowd can completely ruin a content creator, and destroy them as people as well. He might be, in some, mental place or something now because he was just totally snapping when all this happened to him. No idea what ever happened. But a perfect cautionary tale, don't end up in the wrong crowd. And all this because the only reason he ever became a significant YouTuber was because he hated the irate gamer and made videos making fun of the irate gamer. So again, these tiebacks to the irate gamer controversies have given plenty of cautionary tales of what the problems of negative content creation can be. Very important to think about this, especially in today's environment with the algorithms and with ad friendliness and with the new policies and all this other stuff. Next up is a guy I like to refer to as the colicky man baby. You want an overgrown colicky baby? You have it. If you ever had to deal with a baby that was suffering from colic or had really bad teething and never stopped screaming and crying, congratulations, you know how this guy acts as a so-called grown adult. Another one with multiple channels. He grew his channels via hating the irate gamer, as well as hating, I should also say he also hated certain video games too. And he just tore them to shreds. Again, AVGN influence here, but he was nowhere near as professional. He lost some of his channels due to DMCA stuff during the irate gamer fiasco, but stuck around, making other channels later. If you ever had to deal with a screaming baby with colic or really bad teething, you know that what this guy acts like as a supposedly grown adult. He's middle-aged now. He still acts the same way. Make sure this lines up correctly. I guess it won't line up correctly in OBS. He's now middle-aged. He still acts the same. He's essentially the most toxic YouTuber I've ever seen over the years. He actually got confronted by his own audience about whether he was growing out of the behavior that made him popular on YouTube, and he just doubled down hard and committed to staying that way. So, never acted his age. He is committed to never acting his age. He's not going to grow up. Not at 40, not at 50, not at 60, probably not ever. And then, us rational people who actually know how to bury the hatchet on things have moved beyond the irate gamer controversies that sparked a lot of this negative crap in YouTube, among YouTubers. But this guy, I saw his video where he went on a tirade about the irate gamer in this decade. He still hates the irate gamer as much now as he did in 2007. And the numbers reflect that. Channel growth stunted for years, a fan base so toxic, they're actually worse than 2000's irate gamer fans, and he's the only YouTuber in my 15 plus years doing this stuff where I decided his fans are banned on sight on my channel because I expect nothing constructive from them ever. And there was one person who came in, blew up in my comments in one of my videos, his username said he was a fan of this guy, gone. Zero. No chance. I expect so little of the people that like folks like this guy and the way he acts that, and I've been right every single time. I've never actually met someone level-headed who was a fan of his. Never. This is somebody that found a way to be worse than, have a worse audience than the irate gamer did with his aloofness, with his store brand AVGN humor. This guy, hands down. I mean, he's been called out and made fun of by numerous other YouTubers over the years with his behavior. So even other people that review video games in an angry format, so to speak. I checked in to see what the heck's happened with this guy. He stopped making videos and does a little bit of YouTube game streaming for whoever will still watch him. He's another example of how the algorithm is not his friend. He's just not making constructive content. The algorithm is completely not helping him out these days. He'll always have some fans here and there. It's just a matter of how many stay with him, because, I mean, if you were like, say, 14 years old, some middle school kid, and you first started watching him because of his rants and tirades, well, now he looks like your weird dad with an anger issue, and you're like 34 or something. Do you still watch someone like that? It's like, it says it all when the biggest problem you have as a content creator is whether or not your audience grows up. So, I don't know. But that could apply to someone like XQC, too. I don't know. And he was, of course, involved in Meltdown Man's Meltdown. So he was one of the folks involved in pestering this guy off the internet. So he was one of the haters, part of that clique of bad friends and stuff like that. Yeah, nothing like acting like a baby on YouTube and eventually amounting to something because of it, and then continuing to act like an immature whatever into your middle-aged years. I'm sure it'll continue further, too. I don't think people like this ever change, but we'll see. Don't put any chips on him changing, though. Especially when he committed to doubling down on the way he is when he was actually confronted by his own audience about all of this. Next slide here. Not the fat man, so we're not talking urinating tree here. This is a guy who's not as angry, but he had some issues as well. He's a fat guy who's been involved on YouTube since the 2000s, but not urinating tree, hence this name of the slide. He was never as angry as most of the others in the slide deck, but he still fanned the flames of controversy as a literal big ranter in the 2000s. Hey, if I have my pointer, why do I need to light stuff up like this? He hated the irate gamer as much as the others in that era. He got DMCA'd sometimes, too, during that whole mess. I think he might have lost a channel or so, but I lost track of which channels were banned and which channels were shut down. As I say right below it. He has had at least 4 YouTube channels. I lost track of which ones were closed versus banned. These days, though, he got his act together, and he's more of a regular vlogger, but his views reflect that. This guy has been vlogging since he was in his childhood bedroom, so to speak. He pretty much grew up with YouTube. He's a younger millennial. YouTube, he was old enough to understand what YouTube was and barely old enough to use the platform, and he's since grown up. A couple of younger millennial content creators in this age group are like that, so to speak, or maybe closer to my age, but not necessarily like your average Twitch streamer, although some of them have played around on Twitch. So he was angrier in his early years, and it got in the way of his content or production value. Just as an example of the extreme stuff, he once had a huge heavy metal blog intro, like watching a TV show, and then went to 320 by 240, 15 frames per second webcam vlog from like a Logitech QuickCam circa 1999 or something. He did end up with some toxicity in his audience from people making fun of him, and that, of course, led to negativity and other stuff, and a little bit of immaturity as well. But I mean, if you cultivate negativity through like rants and negative content, it eventually has its consequences. He's a fat guy just like me. He eventually started doing food challenge videos instead of ranting all the time. And what happens with a negative audience? We talked about it with the guy that blew up in my comments section one last time and stormed away and never came back. If you grow your channel with toxicity, that's what your audience, your fans come to expect from you, because you have toxic fans. They have a big problem with you doing anything constructive whatsoever. So eventually you and your fans kind of grow apart. That's what happened to this guy. He doesn't get hardly any views anymore compared to many other people on YouTube these days. If I make the right stuff, even I can get more views than him. And he's the one that more of YouTube remembers. He's had more prior success, landed in more he's actually landed in third-party sites about YouTubers. Whereas I've just been kind of recreationally doing this until the 2020s when I decided to get somewhat serious about it and put some structure to what I do. But and try and get more consistent in terms of a lot of things. This guy, though, has made it before, been known across wide swaths of YouTube, but today I can get more views than him, particularly with the tech videos. Many of his videos on his latest channel only get like triple-digit views. So if you can get notably into the triple digits, up to about, say, 1,000 views on a video, you're doing better than this guy. And this guy is an OG ranter who's been negative about stuff since he was still living with his parents. Next up, the replatformed professional ranter. This negative YouTuber was circa the 2000s, and he was the first person to ever block me on YouTube. I can't even remember what the argument was about. But it was back in the days, in the 2000s, when if you blocked someone on YouTube, they couldn't even subscribe to you. That's how I found out that he blocked me. So I was wondering if that was the case. Suddenly I find myself automatically unsubscribed. Hit subscribe. You cannot subscribe to someone who has blocked you. So what happened was, I don't even remember what the argument was. We argued back and forth, and he couldn't argue for crap. Logical fallacies and personal attacks galore. Then he blocks me. Then I find out in like a day or so after he blocks me that he went around one-starring all my videos back on the old star rating system. I had videos, got a small amount of views, didn't get any ratings though. Suddenly they all have one-star ratings all at once. Yeah, I wonder who that was. I suppose it's like a forerunner of nasty Twitter behavior. Or what we have today, where you just go on a disliking spree if someone blocks you. But YouTube has a shadow banning system. It's a lot more subtle than banning someone on Twitch. But don't forget, Twitch bans are chat bans. Channel bans on Twitch are basically chat bans anyway, so you can still see the stream. You just watch it and stuff like that. Can't remember what the argument was about. It was back in the days, and blocking someone on YouTube meant they couldn't subscribe to you, unlike today. Makes me wonder what YouTube was thinking when they rolled this out. I mean, why not make trying to pester people after getting banned, take more effort? Isn't that exactly what PewDiePie was experimenting with that one time? He shut down all his comment sections and just took comments on Twitter, put more effort into what it takes to comment on his videos, and he put more effort into what it takes to comment on his videos, and people don't want to do it if they want to be nasty about it. They prefer the easy troll. Either way. So this professional ranter was full-on incendiary. He wanted arguments and infamy. He was highly successful in achieving both. He blocked me on his first YouTube channel, but he had many more before finally leaving in the 2010s. And it was shut down because someone broke into his channel. He managed to make people hate him with his rants enough that someone actually compromised his channel and wiped everything out. So he just shut everything down shortly afterwards. So when you start getting that kind of behavior, you're definitely more than a bridge too far here. You definitely have gone off the deep end. So, but I do mention that he's replatformed rather than deplatformed. Well, it's the 2020s now. It's the era of COVID. We've had lockdowns and people doing more stuff on the internet while things have been restricted. Guess what this guy did? He tried to make a comeback. And his comeback consisted entirely of making a new channel, re-uploading some of his old videos, and that's it. He didn't make anything new. He didn't put any effort into it. Nothing has been uploaded since he did this. And his views and subs are absolutely atrocious. Been a YouTuber for over 15 years. Can't get views, can't get subs. It just seems like, when your channel consists entirely of watching like 10-plus-year-old videos again that weren't even upgraded in quality, hey, what do you know? People don't really care about you the same way they did back in the noughts. Yeah. I thought that this would be the last of the examples of these people I'm not interested in publicizing. But there's one more. The ultimate end game for negative content creation. When you stick with negative content creation far into your golden years. The ranter I can't believe is still with us. Another one circa the 2000s, not related to the irate gamer fiasco, because he got mad about other things because he was way older than us. This guy's probably a baby boomer. Usually he was ranting about politics during the Obama years because he was hard right. He's probably like if you have a hard right grandfather who can't stop rambling about Joe Biden at family get-togethers. I mentioned someone else looking like your political uncle at the table. This guy was always your overly political grandfather, even in the 2000s. So what happened was I responded to one of his rants, and he started arguing with me, and he very quickly outed that he couldn't actually argue. He didn't know what a logical fallacy is, didn't know, how to actually make points, didn't know how to be civil about things. Civil debate was just not a thing with this guy. Is my thing showing up here? Yeah, I can see it just barely. We eventually went our separate ways after that one argument, but he kept ranting on about politics on his channel through the ensuing decades, and he's still doing it. I just searched to see if his channel was still up. Still around. How do you remember these names all these years later? Well, trying to brainstorm all these people I've had problems with just jogged my memory on this one. Plus, I made a video specifically about him, and I remember the title of that video. I could just look it up, too, on my archives. I don't think it's ever worth putting back on YouTube. Maybe Daily Motion, but for an archive type thing. But if this guy's still involved in YouTubing, I don't want him hassling me on Daily Motion because of an argument we had like 15 years ago or whatever it was. He's still making videos to a small audience of retired baby boomers, probably. Whether it's from a senior home or not, who knows? He definitely sounds even older than he did before. Like, you get older, you talk slower, things like that. I mean, this guy was already old enough to be someone's grandfather when we had our little disagreement in the 2000s. He's that much older now and still making YouTube videos. It's like... he's definitely not an internet grandfather type, though. I can tell you that much. There have been folks that have done that, like the geriatric guy in the early days of YouTube that passed away in the early 2010s, a British military veteran, very friendly guy. There have been people who've tried to be like internet grandfathers of sorts, and be friendly, be like the friendly grandfather you never had, or something like that. This guy's not one of them. And in today's YouTube, he routinely can't get past the hundreds of views level. He doesn't make it past 3 digits. I have tech videos that have done better than this guy. So, same time period, 2010s into the 2020s, I can get more views than him now. This is the kind of old guy us content creators should strive to not end up as, and the ultimate example of the end game of negative content and being a negative YouTuber. When you're taking your rants into the nursing home or whatever, when you're doing that, you might just have had a problem all those years. But I think at the core of all of this is something that, when it comes to negative content creation, everybody needs to think about. And that is what happens when it's all over. When everything is all over and you can't make videos anymore for whatever reason, or when you decide to hang it up, are you happy with what you've done? What are you known for? What do people remember you for? For many of these negative YouTubers that I've known over the years, particularly the ones who even became anything on YouTube because they hated the irate gamer and made hate videos about him back in the 2000s, for many of the people that have been in that scene and other stuff, what happened was they stopped getting views because they didn't bring anything to the table except they are the umpteenth person that hated the irate gamer. So they stopped getting views, and then they started finger pointing at YouTube. Oh, YouTube is terrible. Susan Wojcicki is shadow banning me, blah, 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 blah. All of that crap. So it became a giant snowball of emotions until they either quit, got deplatformed, or whatever. It wasn't pretty. Wasn't pretty. So when you're looking back after being involved in this stuff 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever, what do you want to be known for? Did you actually build something over that time? People, even if they've come and gone, have appreciated you for? Or have you dedicated all this time that you could have been spent building something up into tearing others down? We have the example of the irate gamer fiasco as a wonderful example of what happens when people take the wrong path on this. All those content creators, they had views, they had subscribers, they had all kinds of stuff when they were making fun of the irate gamer or outright hating the irate gamer. The irate gamer controversies waned over the years, so did literally everything they got on YouTube. Then they got mad because they're negative content creators, started blaming YouTube, not putting effort into their videos, and essentially self-destructing. There's even a blogger, one of the wildest examples of how people just wouldn't let the irate gamer thing go. Hung it up. I was just checking it out when I was reading up on some things before having this discussion. But there are still people out there that hate the irate gamer as much as they did in 2007. It's just ridiculous. That's how you know that these people are just so hateful. They've been consumed by it. Can they even be people anymore? Or is it always about, oh, I don't like that person, and that's the centerpiece of either their life, their presence on the internet, or both? It's crazy. No way, folks. When you watch like some chill streamers or you watch some more constructive channels, especially channels with zero chance of interpersonal controversy, like drama, like say Pets and Animals channels. Munchkin's a great example for me. Munchkin, Jun's Kitchen, etc. Channels of cute little cats doing stuff. Meow Meow, whoever that is from whatever that country is, that just shoots videos, 60 frame per second videos of her petting the cats in her neighborhood and feeding them little treats. That stuff exists. It gets views. It gets ad revenue. In many ways, I would say that Pets and Animals is underrated. Make something really good, top the category, and, have something stable on YouTube, which is hard to get these days when a lot of people are walking on eggshells with all the policies these days. Don't get demonetized, don't get shadow banned, don't get your channel treated like crap, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff we have to be concerned about today. But not some of these, more friendly channels like this. And can they be entertaining? Yes. So no matter how many years you spend making content on any platform that's out there, when it's all over, you're going to have to ask yourself, what have I actually built? What have I actually done with all this time? And if you've spent your 20s and 30s being negative and tearing others down, what are you going to think when you hit your 40s and you start wishing you had that time back? Because it starts hitting you in at least the tiniest bit of cognitive dissonance. What have I been doing with my life? Life's too short to be like that. Life's too short to hate people or be envious or jealous or whatever. It's really too short to not be doing something with it. I used to say back in my school days when I had to think up smart-ass quotes for the yearbook, life is like an egg. Unless you do something with it, it's going to stink. So, what have you done if you're into content creation? And what do you want to be thinking about your involvement in content creation when years have gone by and you have to ask yourself, have I made the best use of these years? Really? Something to think about. Needless to say, I've had my brushes with negative content creation. I've done rants. I've done all kinds of other stuff. You know, I've spent entire vlogs moping about my problems, then wondering why I was attracting toxic people who hated when I got more constructive or made progress on things, including hatred of the tech videos, by the way. Yeah, that exists. It's not just about looking at other people for me. It's something I've experienced firsthand. So if you don't even listen to any of these cautionary tales, listen to mine. It's better to be constructive. Build something up instead of spending your time, which you don't have, you have less of than you think because life goes by fast, tearing others down. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.